On this channel, we provide useful programming information with practical code examples. This time, we'll discuss functions in Python. You will learn about the basics of Python functions, default arguments, variable length arguments, and lambda functions through code examples. Enabling subtitles will make the code descriptions easier to understand. Functions in Python are an essential feature for defining reusable blocks of code, allowing you to organize and simplify your program by calling them as needed. Using functions can improve code readability and adhere to the DRY principle. Don't repeat yourself. Avoid writing the same code multiple times. Functions are defined using the def keyword. The basic syntax is as follows. For example, to define a function that adds two numbers, you would write a defined function can be called and used as follows. Function name. The name of the function, used when calling it. Arguments, parameters. The variable names that receive the data passed at the time of the call. You can define 0 or more arguments. Documentation string, docstring. A string that describes the purpose and usage of the function. Optional. Function body. An indented block where the instructions executed by the function are written. Return value. The value returned to the caller using the return statement. If return is omitted, none is returned by default. In Python, there are several types of arguments. Positional arguments. The usual way to pass arguments to a function. Default arguments. Assign default values to arguments so they can be omitted when calling the function. Variable length arguments. Args receives multiple positional arguments as a tuple, and quargs receives them as a dictionary. By using functions correctly, you can write Python programs more effectively and efficiently. In Python, lambda functions are used to define anonymous, concise functions. Unlike functions defined with the normal def keyword, lambda allows you to create short, single-line functions. Here, we will explain lambda functions in Python in detail. Lambda functions, also called anonymous functions, are used to define temporary functions that have no name, as the name suggests. The basic syntax is as follows. Arguments. Specifies the arguments of a function. Multiple arguments can be specified, separated by commas. Expression. An expression evaluated based on the arguments. the result of the expression becomes the return value of the function. For example, the following code defines and executes a lambda function that adds two numbers. In this example, lambda x, y, x plus y, is a lambda function that takes two arguments, x and y, and returns their sum. Lambda functions are useful for situations where you need to define a simple function on the spot. They are particularly common in the following cases. When passed as arguments to functions. It is useful in higher-order functions, functions that take other functions as arguments, when passing short, temporary functions. When specifying keys for sorting lists. They are handy for specifying sorting criteria, keys, in functions like sort or sorted. Typical examples of higher-order functions include map, filter, and reduce. These functions take other functions as arguments and apply them to sequences like lists. In this example, a lambda function is passed to the map function to square each number in a list. The lambda function can sometimes be used to specify a custom key when sorting a list. For example, the following code sorts a list of tuples based on the second element. In this example, a lambda function is used to sort the tuples based on their second element, a string. The filter function is used to filter elements in a list, or other iterable, based on a given condition. In this example, even numbers in a list are filtered to create a new list. The reduce function is used to reduce a list into a single value. It can be implemented easily using a lambda function. In this example, all elements in the list are multiplied together to produce a result. The advantage of lambda functions is their brevity, but they become harder to read when used for implementing complex logic. Therefore, it is appropriate to use them for simple operations that can be expressed in a single line. For complex operations, defining a function with def is more readable and maintainable. For example, you should avoid using complex lambda functions like the one below. In this case, it is better to use a function defined with def, as shown below. Python's lambda functions are a convenient tool for defining temporary, short functions. They are often used in higher-order functions or list operations to concisely define specific conditions. However, lambda functions should be limited to simple tasks, with def functions preferred for complex logic. The source code for this video can be downloaded from the official website. If you like, please visit the URL in the description to aid your learning. Your support keeps this channel motivated. Please subscribe to the channel.